on the news, federal government uncovers 96 sponsors of Boko Haram ISWAP groups. Oil vessel with 10 persons on board explodes in Delta State. And U.S. commandos kill ISIS leader in Rad, records civilian casualties. We're glad to have you join us in News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The federal government says it has uncovered 96 financiers of terrorism across the country, especially those backing Boko Haram and the Islamic State of West Africa province ISWAP between 2020 and 2021. This was disclosed by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, during a press conference on his administration's fight against corruption in Abuja on Thursday. Mohammed said to check terrorism financing in Nigeria, the federal government deployed a plethora of tools to deal with the issue of corruption and money laundering, which led to the discovery of 424 associates and supporters of terrorism financiers. The minister also revealed that the government also uncovered 123 companies and 33 bureau de change operators linked with terrorism in the country. A governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, has expressed concerns over the increasing strength of members of the Islamic State of West African Province ISWAP terrorist group. The governor spoke on Thursday while briefing journalists on the state of internal security, relocation of IDPs and collaborations between the state and the federal government at the State House in Abuja. Speaking during a press conference, Zulum said the military needs to re-strategize on how it will defeat ISWAP, adding that the group will wreak more havoc than Boko Haram if it is allowed to grow.
Growing number of ISWAP in some parts of the state is a matter of great concern to everybody. Where? In the shores of the Lake Chad. Again, in southern Borno State. Luckily enough, I was told there was military deployment yesterday to southern Borno State to fight the insurgents in the Timbuktu Triangle. But I think this is an early warning system. We shouldn't allow ISWAP to grow. ISWAP are more sophisticated, they are well-funded, they are more educated. And we shall do everything possible to defeat ISWAP. Otherwise, what Boko Haram did will be a child play. This is an early warning system. Nigerian army has to re-strategize and defeat ISWAP. ISWAP will be a threat to the entire nation. In addition to what we are doing, I said it time without numbers that there is a need for government of Nigeria to rethink and look into the possibility of hiring mercenaries. I said it time without numbers. There's nothing wrong. America, Britain, many more countries that are stronger than Nigeria do use to seek support outside. There's nothing wrong.
An oil vessel belonging to Sheba Exploration and Production Company Limited, SEPCOL, has exploded in Delta State. Chief Executive Officer of the organization, Ikemefuna Okafo, in a statement explained that the explosion, which happened on Wednesday, engulfed the offshore facility known as FPSO Trinity Spirit, located at the Upoti-Kiti terminal in Warri Southwest local government area of the state. The CEO also disclosed that 10 persons were aboard the vessel are yet to be accounted for. He further said that the company has duly notified all relevant authorities and appealed to the members of the public to stay away from the area while a crisis management team continues to monitor the situation. The collaborative efforts between the Nigerian and the French government took a new dimension on Thursday as the Director of International Relations for the French Navy, Vice Admiral Christophe Lucas, paid a courtesy visit to the Flag Officer Commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Jason Gbassa, at the FOC headquarters, Western Naval Command in Apapa, Lagos State. Speaking during the meeting, Vice Admiral Lucas said collaboration between both navies became necessary to protect the maritime environment in the Gulf of Guinea. While speaking on the issue of piracy, Rear Admiral Jason Gbassa said the reduction in the cases of piracy in Nigeria will be sustained.
A lot of warship of Nigerian Navy, and we work very well together and to improve our capability to work together at sea and to be more efficient in order for a safer maritime environment in the Gulf of Guinea through our cooperation and through the cooperation in accordance with the Yaoundé architecture in this region.
Going by the report of the International Maritime Bureau of last year, it's obvious that there has been a reduction, and going into this new year and looking forward, we expect that reduction will be sustained by our activities at sea and even those alongside. For sure, yes, there's been a reduction, and that reduction is going to be sustained, that I can assure you, from the Nigerian Navy, especially as we collaborate with our other global partners.
Senate Deputy Minority Leader Emmanuel Buacha has joined the All Progressives Congress (APC) from the People's Democratic Party (PDP). Buacha was formally received by President Muhammadu Buhari, along with APC caretaker chairman and governor of Yobe State, Maimela Buni. Buacha, who in July 2018 mocked the APC, saying its leaders were secretly weeping over the mass defection of its members in the National Assembly, was elected to the Senate to represent Taraba South Senatorial District in the 2011 general elections on the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), and was re-elected under the same party in 2015 and won election again in 2019.
I choose the APC because I know from the home front that is where there will be a level playing ground, number one. And then number two, the EB bridge, which had been awarded and work is ongoing, was awarded under President Muhammadu Buhari. Nobody from my senatorial district is not happy about this project because this has been our cry since the colonial days. And under his watch, the Kashimbila Dam project had been completed. So I had to answer to the calls of my constituent to join this party and redefine the narrative in Taraba State and restore its lost glory. I am calling on all and sundry to join forces together so that we can build a better Taraba, where governance will be seen as the hope of the people, and where development of infrastructure will be a key priority. Basically, that is my mission statement.
President Muhammadu Buhari has launched the revised national policy on population for sustainable development, stressing the need for urgent measures to address Nigeria's high fertility rate through expanding access to modern contraceptive methods across the country. The president also inaugurated the National Council on Population Management, chaired by him and the vice president as a deputy chairman, with heads of relevant ministries, departments and agencies as members. Speaking on the country's revised population policy in Abuja, the president said its overall goal was to improve the quality of life and standard of living of all Nigerians, which is one of the major aspirations of his administration.
This policy, however, stimulated discussions on the need to address Nigeria's fertility rate and aroused conscientiousness on the importance of population management as an enabler to achieving sustainable development. The new national population policy emphasizes the urgency to address Nigeria's sustained high fertility rate through expanding access to modern family planning, counseling, and commodities, as well as promote birth spacing. This will enable Nigeria to achieve rapid fertility control, improve the health of women, adolescents, newborn children, and other population groups.
The key targets are centered on reducing the rate of population growth through reduction in fertility and mortality to fast-track demographic transition. The national policy on population addresses salient population and development concerns with an overarching goal to improve the quality of life and standard of living of the people of Nigeria. It is a strategic tool that will guide the implementation of the National Development Plan 2021-2025.
The Nigerian Senate has received a formal request from President Muhammadu Buhari to confirm 5 nominees as executive directors of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The confirmation request was contained in a letter read by the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, during plenary on Wednesday. The President added that the request for the expeditious confirmation of the nominees was made in order to fast-track the effective takeoff and decision-making in the newly established regulatory authority.
Letter from Mr. President, dear distinguished Senate President, confirmation of appointment of executive directors of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. In accordance with the provision of Section 41, subsection 2 of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, I am pleased to forward for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of the underlisted 5 nominees as executive directors of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. In order to fast-track the effective takeoff and decision-making in the newly established Regulatory Authority, the distinguished Senate is kindly requested to consider and confirm the nominees in the usual expeditious manner. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration.
The House of Representatives has been forced to adjourn plenary over the non-availability of order paper for the day's plenary. Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, after taking a seat for the business of the day at about 11:15 a.m., discovered that the other paper, which usually contains the agenda for a sitting, had not been made available. Gbajabiamila was visibly angry by the development, asked that whoever was in charge of other papers in the Committee on Rules and Business be removed. The Speaker consequently adjourned sitting till Tuesday, summoning all those concerned to a meeting at his office. Nigeria's fight against the HIV/AIDS epidemic took another turn on Tuesday when President Muhammadu Buhari launched the Hiv Trust Fund of Nigeria. The Trust Fund aims to close the gap between global and domestic funding of HIV response in Nigeria. HIV/AIDS advocates have lauded the initiative, describing it as a solution to the country's high HIV burden. Details in this report. Nigeria is said to have the second largest HIV burden in the world. As at 2018, 1.9 million people were infected with the HIV virus, while 53,000 deaths from HIV infections were reported. But the situation is more desperate when comparison is made between global and local funding in the fight against the epidemic, as the vast majority of funding still comes from international donors. As a solution, Nigeria has launched a 62.1 billion naira HIV Trust Fund as part of efforts to reduce funding gap and also place more people living with HIV on treatment.
Ending AIDS as a public health threat in Nigeria will require increased domestic funding. We have continued to make good our commitment of placing more people living with HIV on treatment annually using national resources. Going forward, I hope the HIV Trust Fund of Nigeria will galvanize more of the private sector and others partners to surpass the target of 62 billion naira in the next 5 years.
For HIV advocates, this move is very timely, owing to Nigeria's over-reliance on external funding.
The Nigerian intervention mainly and mostly depends on foreign donors. About 80 to 90% of the HIV intervention in Nigeria depends on foreign donors. And this is not sustainable. You know, what happens if tomorrow the funders wake up and they say they're leaving the country? What happens to the programs? What happens to medication? What happens to, you know, the laboratory services? So this has been a big challenge. This has been something that worries everyone. But I think it's a very good thing. It's a very welcome development that the president graciously launched this trust fund. and that we are having the level of private sector involvement that heralds it. So basically, it's a very, very beautiful occurrence.
Nigerian business magnates and Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has pledged the support for the HIV Trust Fund. He also enjoined the federal government and private sector to ensure the success of the initiative.
We are expecting that the federal government's contribution to the fund. We would like for the private sector to work in partnership with the federal government on a 50-50 basis, which we believe will help us eliminate mother-to-child transmission of HIV/AIDS in Nigeria. I'm happy to announce that in addition to contribution to the administrative costs of running this fund, I will also contribute to the HIV Trust Fund over the next 5 years, and I'm calling on all partners in the private sector to join me to make this a great success.
The HIV Trust Fund of Nigeria targets the elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV/AIDS, which is most prevalent in the country, as mother-to-child transmission accounts for 90% of HIV infections in children under the age of 15 years. Folashade Ogurinde, TV360 News. We'll take a break here, but still to come, U.S. Army to dismiss soldiers who refuse vaccination. Details of this story and more right after this break. Welcome back. Now here is a recap of our top stories tonight. The federal government says it has uncovered 96 financiers of terrorism across the country, especially those backing Boko Haram and the Islamic State of West African province ISWAP between 2020 and 2021. This was disclosed by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, during a press conference on the administration's fight against corruption in Abuja on Thursday. Mohammed said to check terrorism financing, the federal government deployed a plethora of tools to deal with the issue of corruption and money laundering in the country. We also told you that an oil vessel belonging to Sheba Exploration and Production Company Limited, SEPCOL, has exploded in Delta State. According to a brief by the management of SEPCOL, the explosion, which happened on Wednesday, engulfed the offshore facility known as FPSO Trinity Spirit, located at Upo-Kiti Terminal in Buhari's southwest local government area of the state, as 10 persons who were aboard the vessel are yet to be accounted for. The chief executive officer of the organization, Ikemefuna Okafor, in a statement released on Thursday, revealed that the cause of the explosion is being investigated, adding that the organization is working with necessary parties to contain the situation. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletin, or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, says an additional 65 cases have been added to the country's total caseload, raising the country's infection tally to 253,405. The NCDC in its update said the new cases were logged in 6 states and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. The breakdown of the NCDC data revealed that Lagos, the epicenter of the virus, recorded 19 infections, followed by Kano and Rivers with 16 and 12 cases respectively. The agency also disclosed that 1 fatality was recorded on Wednesday, leaving the total death tally at 3,136. U.S. soldiers who refuse to be vaccinated for COVID-19 will be immediately discharged. The Army announced on Wednesday, saying the move was critical to maintain combat readiness. The discharge order is the latest from U.S. military branch removing unvaccinated service members amid the pandemic after the Pentagon made the vaccine mandatory for all service members in August 2021. Other branches of the U.S. military, including the U.S. Air Force, have already begun to remove those who have chosen not to receive a COVID vaccine, which were first authorized for emergency use in December 2020. Well, we'll take a short break here and return with more stories in business. Just stay with us. Well, up next is business news and stock market review with Abisola Adebayo. Over to you, Bisola.
Thank you very much, Folashade. Welcome to Business News. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, says it will begin taxes on income derived by companies from bonds and short-term securities. The new directive, contained in a circular issued by the FIRS, says the Revenue Service mandates businesses to pay income tax on profit earned from bonds and short-term government securities, excepting income tax on bonds issued by the federal government. The FIRS listed short-term government securities to include treasury bills and promissory notes, bonds issued by state and local governments and their agencies, including bonds issued by corporate bodies and supranational. The Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved 115.4 billion naira for the dualization of the proposed Kano-Kazare Kongolam Highway in Katsina State from single carriageway to a dual carriageway. The meeting, which was presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, says his ministry presented 2 memos involving the contract for sundry consultation services for the supervision of the various railway projects across the country. The minister also noted that the consultation services were approved at a total cost of $183.7 million for the contractors.
The first one has to do with the contract for consultancy services for the supervision of the various railway projects. You know that we have 3 or 4 railway projects that are yet to start or commence the construction, and they include the Port Harcourt Maiduguri, Kano Maradi, and then the Abuja to Warri. And then for the consultancy services for supervision of Port Harcourt Maiduguri Railway, with branch lines to Bonny, Deep Sea Port, and Port Harcourt Industrial Park, and then to Warri, we have Carry Consult SDM BHD / Jamub Global Services Limited at $97.5 million. The second one is that the Cabinet approved a concessionaire agreement. Approval for the Ministry of Transport to concession the Onitsha River Port.
We'll take a break now and return with a review of the stock market. The equities market of the Nigerian Exchange Limited reversed a negative trend of 2 consecutive negative trading days on Thursday as investors sustained interest in stocks on the premium board. The all-share index is back to the 47,000 level, closing today at 47.329 basis point, while The value of listed stocks on the Nigerian bourse increased from 25.28 trillion naira to 25.50 trillion naira, gaining about 200 billion at the close of trading. Leading the stocks that led the market on an upward trend, we have Nigeria's leading energy solution provider, Oando. The oil and gas giant became darling of investors today after it confirmed that it will release its 2019 audited financial statement at the end of the first quarter of 2022. It was closely followed by Academy Press PLC, who recorded an 11 kobo increase. On the flip side, that's our losers list for today. Farmdeco and Champion led the losers counter with a combined 42 kobo loss. Our market summary, however, sees a total volume of 346 million units of shares valued at 3.8 billion naira, exchanged in 4,952 deals. While the market was in losses yesterday, but reverse is the case today. But let's see if green or red dominates February, because as a matter of fact, no market is predictable. So we'll have pulls back here and there rather. On the foreign scene, that's the FTSE, the Dow Jones and the Nikkei. They're all in the negative territory. London's FTSE erased early gains to end lower on Thursday as the pound jumped after the Bank of England announced a second consecutive interest rate hike to curb inflation. In the US, the Dow Jones sold off 300 points on Thursday, while tech stocks took a dive as Facebook stock crashed following a weak earnings report. Japan stocks were also lower today, tracking a fall in US stocks futures, while investors logged in gains following their 4 days winning streak. That's all on Stock Market Report. Over to Folashade for the rest of the news.
Well, many thanks, Bisola, for that update. Now, the foreign scene, troops of the U.S. forces have killed the leader of the Islamic State, Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurashi, in a counter-terrorism mission in Idlib province, northwest Syria. President of the United States, Joe Biden, would disclose this in a statement, added that at least 13 civilians were also killed during the raid. The helicopter-borne assault was carried out by about 24 American commandos, backed by helicopter gunships, armed Reaper drones and attack jets. Well, up next is Entertainment Report to News Now.
Nigerian singer Olamide and Black Diamond boss Wande Cole have announced their upcoming single titled It's Me. The record will be yet another Olamide feature, following features alongside Portable, T.I. Blaze and more in the last 8 weeks. While for Wande Cole, he has been in the studio with Davido, Kiss Daniel, Buju and Wizkid. Nollywood actor Samuel Ajibola on Wednesday admitted that being a father has changed his life completely. The actor, who was popular for his role as Spiff in the family drama The Johnsons, used the opportunity to also appreciate parents. Ajibola, who welcomed his first child 2 months ago, shared a video of himself and his child on his Instagram page. In the caption, the new dad revealed how he changed his daily schedule since the coming of his son. Grammy-winning Nigerian superstar Wizkid has announced a song off his forthcoming More Love, Less Ego album titled Madam. The song features Alpha P and is produced by the hitmaker Killer Tunes. Wizkid also gave a shout-out to DJ Tunes, who seemed to have orchestrated the link-up. Meanwhile, Alpha P continues his impressive streak of exciting features from the likes of Justin Bieber, The James, Rosimi, and now Wizkid. He, however, reassures everyone to pay attention to Alpha P. And that is all that we have for you on the entertainment segment of News Now.
Away from entertainment and out to sports, the Africa Cup of Nations third place playoff has been brought forward a day from Sunday to this Saturday, the 5th of February. The news of the match reschedule was made known by the Confederation of African Football, CAF. The match will now be played on Saturday at 8 p.m, having initially been scheduled to start just 3 hours before the final on Sunday. Both matches will be played in Yaoundé, with the Olembe Stadium hosting the final and the Muhammadu Adjito Stadium the venue for the third place game. That's it in our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Folashade. Green Day. Bye for now.